Hey, lead gen hustlers! My name is Yogi. I'm the guy who is responsible for creating amazing content on how to grow your lead generation agencies on the Lead Gen Hustlers website. And today I have a pretty neat special for you. So, uh, the rest of the Lead Gen Hustlers team and me decided to create a step by step framework that you can use to decide whether some particular part of your lead gen agency of your operations should be delegated or not. So basically, what you see in front of you right now is a sum of 5 or 6 years of mine and the experience of the other team members on how to hire people for agencies, inside agencies. So, without further ado, let me show you how to decide whether a particular operation field is suitable for outsourcing and who should you hire. So, the first thing that you need to ask yourself before even thinking about outsourcing specific things or delegating specific things, especially at the very beginning, is do you have 3 successful case studies? Because if you don't have 3 successful case studies, it doesn't make sense to delegate, right? Because if you don't have 3 successful case studies, you don't have an agency, you don't have a business, right? In order for an agency model to work and in order for you to be able to scale to massive heights, you need to have success studies, or in other words, your work and your process needs to deliver real results to your customers. Otherwise, you can get new customers, you can sign great deals, but those deals will last for like 2 or 3 months, not more. As soon as those people see that you can't deliver what you promise, they're gonna churn, and you're in the hamster wheel of signing new clients and churning them up all the time, all the time, and all the time. And that's not how you build a successful agency. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to have 3 successful case studies. If you don't, then don't even think about delegating. If you do, then are you making more than $8,000 a month consistently? Now, $8,000 a month is a very, very small threshold. And in reality, although it might seem too large for you, and believe me, it is life changing money for 99% of the people out there, but $8,000 a month is nothing in the agency model, right? And if you're making less than $1,000 a month consistently, to be honest, like that's a very pretty salary for you personally, unless you live in California, of course, or in London. So there is not really, it doesn't really make sense to delegate anything at less than $8,000 a month. But why $8,000 a month? Well, many things in lead gen agencies are pretty much more straightforward to do. So pretty much all the lead gen agencies that I know of, they decide to delegate their ops to people in Philippines, India, and the other third world countries. So unfortunately, these people don't charge too much. So yeah, $8,000 a month is enough for you to start delegating. Less, no, don't delegate at all. So the next thing you need to do is you need to know is, are your results and delivery mechanism consistent for each client? Or in other words, do you have a process for creating the transformation you're promising to your clients? Many agencies out there, even though they do have results, their strategy is like more spray and pray. They do many different things, hoping to get results. And for some clients, they do get results. But that's not how you build a consistent agency. That's not how you build a successful agency. So your process of getting your clients from point A to the point B needs to be consistent all the time, and your delivery mechanism needs to be the same. If you still don't have a proven process for that, then continue iterating by yourself and don't delegate anything until now. The next question is the next thing is that you need to identify what job is taking you the most time. So now you have a process that consists of, I don't know, like 5 steps. And for every client, you need to execute these 5 steps and you will deliver the transformation to them. But what of these 5 steps is taking you the most time? You need to identify that and then ask yourself, is that something that you hate doing? Probably, if you're like me, you would hate doing manual work. And on the other side, you would love doing more like a strategic work and a creative work or writing or something like that. So if you hate doing that specific part of the job, then you should delegate it. If you don't hate it doing, if you find time enjoying that, then you probably shouldn't delegate it right right now. So, but that thing that you hate doing and it's taking you the most time, is that something that's repetitive, or in other words, done in the same way all the time? If it's not, then it doesn't really make sense to delegate it, because how can you know what exactly to delegate, and how can you teach other people to do that thing if it's not consistent every time? Or in other words, this brings us to our second question: is it something that can be done without a specific knowledge? In lead gen agency space, you have many steps in your process that require a certain level of thinking and the knowledge. For example, creating a campaign for a client and writing the outreach sequence for LinkedIn or for email, doesn't matter, uh, is not something that's repetitive all the time, right? Doing a response management and responding to the client's emails, it's not repetitive, right? Creating a strategy for a client, that's not repetitive. All of these things require a certain specific knowledge or a background knowledge that you or a person that you're trying to delegate for needs to know. Or in other words, jobs that require specific knowledge are expensive to delegate, and you shouldn't delegate them in the first, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50K in monthly recurring revenue. So these are the jobs that you should do yourself until you feel comfortable enough to pay a high salary for someone who knows how to do this stuff. Because getting someone cheap to do certain things for you that require specific knowledge, that's just gonna bust you even more, and you won't get too far. You won't get too far. So if you want to delegate something that requires a specific knowledge, don't do that if you don't have money to pay an expert who has already done that for hundreds of times to do that. If it is something that doesn't require a specific knowledge, can you automate it? Because if you can automate it, then you shouldn't delegate it. It's way cheaper, less time consuming, and most importantly, less stressful to automate something and have a machine or a robot to do that for you than to go through the pretty hard process of hiring people, vetting people, doing demo works, signing contracts, checking those people, training them. Like, it's a delegation is a complicated thing. So you want to make sure that you delegate really the most necessary things that you need to delegate. If you can automate something with, I don't know, like a week of your work, believe me, spending 5, 10, even 15 days on creating specific automations, it's definitely 10 times more worth than hiring people to do something. First off, less time consuming, less stressful, and most importantly, it's cheaper. So even the cheapest employee in the world will still cost you $400, $500, $600 a month, but an automation can cost you anywhere around between $20 to $200 a month, right? So can you automate something? If you can, then automate it. If you can't automate it, then ask yourself, can anyone perform that specific task that you want to delegate with clear instructions? Or in other words, if you're able to write a step-by-step guide on how to do that specific job that you're trying to delegate? Can your grandma do that job for you? If your answer is no, then it's probably wiser not to delegate it right now. But if your answer is yes, then we need to write an SOP. And the SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures. In other words, SOP is a doc that tells people how to exactly do certain tasks, right? So, in order to successfully delegate a specific part of your process and to hire people and for those people to do a good and high quality work for you, they need to have a clear instructions. And literally, you need to write down every step, screenshot, step, screenshot. So, literally, just imagine that you're writing a task, a process to a 5 year old, and if you can explain that task to a 5 year old, then anyone can do that task, and you can find pretty great workforce who will do that for you for pretty much no money, right? So, and of course, at the end of the day, less stress, right? More precise SOPs. If you have more precise SOPs, that leaves less chance for error, meaning your people whom you delegate stuff will do high quality work without you worrying at the end of the day and staying awake through the night thinking on whether that specific person you hired found you quality leads for your new client or whatever is the task that you want to delegate. So, if anyone can perform a task with the clear instructions, then you need to have an SOP, right? You need to have an SOP on how to perfectly finish a specific task. If you don't have an SOP, then write it down, write down everything that you know in clear, simple instructions. And once you have, and this is really important, only hire and delegate staff once you have clear SOPs on how to do something. Now, that's the time when you think about delegating specific parts of your delivery mechanism that take you the most time, that you hate, and tasks that can't be automated, but can be finished and can be done with clear instructions by anyone who doesn't need to have or doesn't have a specific knowledge. So this is the framework for hiring and delegating and choosing what tasks to delegate. Now, speaking in the concept of lead generation agencies, what are some tasks that you can delegate at the beginning? Well, probably from what you can hear on our Lead Gen Hustlers podcast and from what you can read on our blog and inside our community, pretty much the first thing that you need to delegate, but again, only after you can do that job in the middle of the night, just after waking up at 3 a.m., and only after you have more than 3 successful case studies, you have more than 8 to 10K monthly recurring revenue, and after you have a clear SOP. One of the first jobs that you should delegate inside the lead generation agency is probably lead scraping and list building, because that's the job that takes the most time. It's frustrating to do, right? It's frustrating to do. Your time is pretty much more valuable at, for example, handling responses or creating campaigns than finding emails, right? And at the end of the day, anyone with clear instructions can do that. Now, for lead scraping and list building, of course, there are a lot of ways that you can automate specific parts, and you should definitely do that. So make sure to check our workflow automatations at leadgenhustlers.com/workflow automatations to see how to quickly find lists and build lead lists for specific verticals. But yeah, that's basically pretty much everything on how to delegate and how to choose which tasks to delegate in a lead gen agency. And pretty much every agency, any agency business model can use this. So that's it for today, my dear lead gen hustlers. Hope you enjoyed that. enjoy that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me out in the Legion Hustlers community. I would be more than happy to help you out. So yeah, enjoy, folks. Have the great rest of the day and happy growing, happy closing.